Okay, hello students, welcome to Narayana IS. I am Pratik, faculty for Daily News Analysis. Students, in today's DNA, we are going to focus on four most important topics from the Hindu and the Indian Express. But before we begin, let us go through a motivation quote. And today's motivational quote is, progress is slow, but quitting won't make it faster. So keep on progressing. Doesn't matter if you have, let's say, failed in your prelims or not crossing about the cutoff marks. It's okay, fine. Keep on progressing. Keep on, doing a better job. Make sure you're improving day on day, and eventually you will find the success. So please do not quit. Keep on progressing. Even small changes in a day eventually over time will make a significant change to your character and to the progress that you are working towards clearing the examination. On this note, let us get started with the topics of the day. The first topic is taken from Hindu, page number 12. Now here the Air Chief Marshal says that there is a delay in the defense procurement. So here we'll discuss the development in the defense sector. We'll discuss the issues as highlighted by the Air Marshal Chief, and then we'll discuss the way forward in order to, let's say, secure or let's say boost or strengthen our national security. The second article is taken from Indian Express, page number 13. Now in this article we shall understand the difference between centrally sponsored scheme and sector scheme. This difference is important to understand for the pre-examination. The third article is taken from the Hindu text and context page. In this article, we shall understand the importance of autonomous warfare in the context of the challenge that India faces from Pakistan, China, the internal threat from the terrorists, the Naxalites. And the fourth topic is taken from Hindu, page number 12. In this article, we shall understand the importance of Village Guards Initiative. So these are the four topics that we shall be discussing. Let us start with the first topic. The title is Air Chief Marshal flags delays in defense projects, invites private players to contribute. Right? So in this we'll understand about the India's defense industry, the challenges and the modernization effort undertaken by the government of India. Important for mains, especially GS paper 3 under indigenization of technology and also internal security. Now this was a question asked in the year 2020. Defense indigenization is a crucial step in India's journey towards self-reliance. Discuss the challenges faced in indigenization or indigenizing defense production and suggest measures to overcome them. So this is a question that appeared in the year 2020. Now let us try to understand the context that is discussed in the article. Now see, at the CII annual by a business summit 2025, the Air Chief Marshal, he raised concerns over the delays in defense project deliveries. Delays in defense project deliveries, which means when the project or let's say any equipment is ordered, it takes time to deliver. And then he stressed the urgent need to build indigenous defense capability. He stressed the need to build defense equipments in India so as to reduce our dependence on the imports. Then he also spoke about India's strategic environment, the threat India is facing from China, Pakistan, the threats going across the globe and its impact on India. He also discussed the success of Operation Sindoor and how the private industry can play a very, very important role in the national private players, how they can play an important role in the national defense. How? By working with the government companies to manufacture weapons in our country. The key message was a call for faster execution, partnership between public and private, and most importantly, strong investment in R&D, research and development, because only after you invest in R&D you will be in a position to make the defense equipments in our country without having the need to import from other countries. So this is the context. I hope you understood the context. The context is to develop the defense or manufacture within India. Now, key major developments in India. First, we'll discuss the developments so far. Then we'll discuss the issues. First is the indigenous defense production. Now, see, India has made a strong presence in becoming self-reliant in defense manufacturing. This reduces dependence on imports and strengthens our national security and also the economy. Now, the positive indigenization list issued by the Ministry of Defense. This positive indigenization list, it shows which weapons and system must now be sourced only from the Indian companies. Now, in the year 23-24, the indigenous defense production in India stood at 1.27 lakh crore, reflecting 16.7% rise. Domestic manufacturing share 65% of defense equipment is manufactured in our country, highlighting the success of Make in India. This is the first point. The next is making the weapons in India, then you are exporting it to other countries. Now, India's defense exports have grown significantly. It makes our country a rising arms supplier not only within the region but also globally. Why? Because India's defense products are now exported to over 100 countries, including major powers like the USA, the France, the UK, Armenia, so many countries, Russia. Now, in financial year 23-24, the defense exports reached this number, representing a 30-fold growth over the past decade. Future target, the government aims to increase this figure from 21,000 to 50,000 crore by 29, thereby enhancing India's economic and strategic footprint in the world. This is point number 2. Third, technological advancement in defense R&D. Now see, India's investing in, let's say, sophisticated, advanced, cutting-edge defense research through initiatives like the, I hope you heard about IDEX. What is IDEX? That is Innovations for Defense Excellence. And then TDF. TDF stands for Technology Development Fund. Please remember these initiatives. Very, very important to mention these initiatives in the exam. Now, these programs, the IDEX, the TDF, they bring in startups and the MSME, that is the micro, small and medium enterprises, to contribute towards defense innovation. Now, as of Feb 25, 549 problem statements had been released. These are the problems, and 619 startups were engaged with the defense R&D organizations. And this actually helps speed up the process of building equipments in our country, that is indigenous high-tech system. The next one is defense industrial corridors development, that is to support the infrastructure, that is 2 defense industrial corridors, one in UP and the other one in Tamil Nadu. You should remember this states, very, very important, have been developed. Now, these corridors help promote domestic manufacturing and attract foreign investments in defense. They offer infrastructure, they offer land, they offer incentives to companies so as to attract the companies to invest in the countries. Now, investments worth 8,000 crore have already been made. A total projected investment of 53,000 crore is expected, making these corridors very, very important center to the industrial growth in the defense sector. Then, modernization of armed forces with latest procurement. Now, please remember that India is updating its armed forces with modern systems and weaponry. In 25, contracts worth this many were signed for 156 LCH Prachanda helicopters, enhancing the aerial capabilities. Then, talking about the Air Force also added advanced weapons like the cruise missiles, the Hammer precision guided bombs, and loitering munitions. What are loitering munitions? They are drones that hover and strike when a target appears. This is known as loitering munitions. Now, these systems were effectively used in recent Operation Sindoor, allowing precision strikes with minimal collateral damage. The last, strategic defense partnership and global diplomacy. Now, India's growing defense strength, right, is supported by global partnerships and diplomacy. India's growing defense strength. Now, strong ties with countries like USA, France, and Russia, they help in technology transfer and joint development of the advanced weapons. A major example is that of BrahMos missile deal with Indonesia worth 3,800 crore. It exemplifies India's strength in defense manufacturing. India is also participating in joint military exercises with Japan, the Philippines, the Malaysia, and this actually boosts regional security cooperation. So this is how India is growing in the defense sector. Right? I think we have discussed around 6 to 7 points. 4 to 5 points if you mention in the examination is more than sufficient. Now let's discuss the challenges which undermines India's defense potential. The first one is technological gaps and dependence on imports. Now, even though India has made progress in local defense manufacturing, it still struggles to develop high-end, that is sophisticated defense technologies like the advanced missiles, the sensors, the aircraft engines. As of 2023, 36% of the defense procurement budget is still allocated to imports, indicating persistent gaps in the technology capacity. The second one is the bureaucratic delays. Now, this is a challenge that you can mention in most of the answers in defense procurement. Now, the defense buying or procurement in India is often delayed by the administrative procedures. Now, these delays, they reduce the speed of modernizing our armed forces. For example, the Rafale fighter jet and let's say the Scorpion submarine deal shows how long gaps between approvals and deliveries can hurt the readiness in a combat-like situation. This is problem number 2 challenge. Inadequate defense budget for modernization. Now, though India's overall defense budget has increased to almost 6.81 lakh crore, only 1.8 lakh crore was directed towards upgrading military systems. The DRDO received just 3.9% of the total budget, highlighting under-investment. So, the budget towards defense is increasing, but of the total budget, only a minuscule percentage is utilized for investment in innovation. So this is another challenge. Next, limited public-private sector collaboration. Now, the defense sector is still dominated by the PSUs and the private sector contributes only 21% to the total production. Now, despite efforts like the JSW Defense drone projects, there is limited teamwork between the public and the private firms in the defense manufacturing. Now, the JSW Defense is a subsidiary of the company conglomerate JSW and has entered India's defense manufacturing sector with a focus on unmanned aerial vehicles, particularly drones, which is part of the broader push for indigenization and private sector participation in the defense production. Next is low export competitiveness. Now, India's defense exports have grown to 21,000 crore. We have already seen this, but this is a small compared to countries like the US and Russia. Now, deals like the BrahMos missile that we signed with Indonesia are promising, but India is yet to win a large contract for platforms like the Tejas fighter jet, which we have developed indigenously. The next is cyber and EW vulnerabilities. Now, please remember India's cyber defense. EW stands for electronic warfare. Now these systems, the defense, cyber defense and the electronic warfare systems are still not strong. Now I hope you remember the 2019 cyber attack on Mumbai's power grid allegedly by a Chinese group. It exposed gaps in security. So India's cyber security systems are still developing, which limits its ability to stop advanced digital attacks. Internal security strains. Now talking about internal security, terrorism and insurgency in regions like Jammu and Kashmir and Northeast region, especially the state of Manipur that we read so often, it continue to demand security resources. And this affects attention and funding for regular defense preparedness and innovation. Lack of integrated defense strategy like we have in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the trilateral command. Now India's three services, Army, Navy and Air Force, they work separately. There is a lack of proper joint coordination. Although now we have established Chief of Defense Staff, right? Why? To ensure how the three forces can work in sync. But despite the appointment of CDS so many years, like almost it's been 3 to 4 years, there's a delay in setting up ITC. What is ITC? Integrated Theatre Command. And this is another challenge that we get to see. So these are some of the challenges we understood about the development in the defense sector, challenges. Now let us discuss the solution. One, to boost the defense tech innovation. Now, all the challenges that we discussed, somewhere you have to reroute to write the solution part, which means India must invest in emerging technologies like the AI, autonomous weapons and quantum computing. Building special R&D hubs and partnering with global tech companies can help reduce the technology gap and lower the import dependence. The next one is strengthening public-private academic collaboration. Now, India should promote better cooperation between the PSUs, the private companies, and the academic institutions. So, setting up innovation labs and encouraging startups through incentives will speed up the product development and also improve collaboration. This will eventually help in indigenization of the defense equipments, high-end defense equipments. Developing skilled human capital. Now you need people who can think different, innovate and help in indigenization of technology. India needs more trained professionals for that, in fields like cyber security, engineering, system design. And that's the reason creating a defense talent academy, right? Defense talent academy. And partnering with top universities and defense firms can build this talent base. And then streamlining defense procurement. Now making the defense acquisition process simpler and more digital will reduce the delays. Changes in the defense acquisition procedure, the DAP, should promote buy India options over buy global to strengthen the local industries. This will, this will push employment overall. It will boost the Indian economy. Enhancing export outreach and diplomacy. India should expand its defense exports to new markets like in Africa, let's say Latin America. And this India can do using strategic forums and government support. This can help win more contracts and boost India's global presence. Establishing defense innovation zones. Now, India can create dedicated zones for technologies like drones, cyber defense, or let's say satellites. Now, these defense innovation zones can attract investments through tax benefits, funding support, bringing in both the startups as well as big firms. And last is to boost these cyber security frameworks. Now, India should establish a national defense cyber command, national defense cyber command, to promote its military systems from cyber threats. It should also include AI-based solutions and form global security partnerships for better digital defense. So these are the solutions that India can work towards in order to ensure that we reach a position where we indigenize the technology and stop our dependence on the import. So all in all, in conclusion, we can say that India, right, is at a very, very important phase in its defense journey. There has been visible progress, no doubt about it, but long-term success requires structural reforms. Now, to meet future security threats, India must build a defense system that is technology driven and it is well coordinated and also globally very, very competitive. I hope you understood the first topic, right? Let us move on to the next topic. Third party evaluation must for central schemes to go on beyond March 2026. So here we'll understand the difference between centrally sponsored schemes and central sector schemes. Important for GS paper 2, important aspects of governance, transparency and accountability. Now here's a question that was asked in the year 2021. Institutional quality is a crucial driver for economic performance. In this context, suggest reforms in civil service for strengthening democracy. What is the context? Now, as you know, India enters the 16th Finance Commission, that is period from 26 to 31. The Ministry of Finance has made it mandatory for all these centrally sponsored schemes, right? There's a difference, we'll understand the difference. So Ministry of Finance has made it mandatory for all the central sponsored schemes and central sector scheme to undergo third party evaluation. Now this evaluation by third party must be done for the schemes that will continue beyond this financial year, that is the next financial year. The goal, what is the goal? Why third party evaluation? The goal is to ensure financial fiscal discipline, performance based planning as well as data driven approvals. And this more reflects the government's focus on outcome oriented governance and better use of public funds, that is to improve the governance. Now let us try to understand the difference between centrally sponsored scheme and central sector scheme. See, there are two types of schemes through which the government it funds the welfare schemes, or let's say welfare and development schemes in our country. The difference lies in the funding pattern, implementation as well as control. Let us first talk about the centrally sponsored scheme. Now these are schemes that are funded by the center but implemented by the state governments. Who is funding? Central government. Implementation, state government. The cost is shared between the center as well as states. For example, 60:40, like 60 the government, 40 state government, 75:25. 75 the central government, 25 the states. Or let's say 90:10. For example, when it comes to northeastern states or let's say hilly states, it is usually the central government who funds 90% and 10% is given by the states. For a let's say advanced state like Tamil Nadu, the ratio can be 60:40, 40 state, 60 center. And what is the objective? The objective is to address the regional developmental needs while supporting the national goals. And they promote most very, very important cooperative federalism, joint responsibility of the center and states. Example being Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, National Health Mission, Midday Meal Scheme, PM Poshan Scheme. Talking of the features of the centrally sponsored scheme, this scheme involves shared funding. States have some flexibility in implementation so as to suit the local needs. They mainly focus on social welfare, economic development, and most importantly, poverty reduction. This is about the centrally sponsored scheme. Now, central sector schemes. Now, these central sector schemes are funded 100% by the central government. They're usually executed through central ministries, or let's say specially appointed agencies by the center. The objective is to, let's say, achieve national level goals, especially in areas like infrastructure, national security, or let's say economy. The example being PM Kisan, Bharat Mala, National Highway Development and Digital India program. And talking of the feature, one, now these central schemes are fully controlled by the center. Why? Because they are funding it from planning to implementation. There's no cost sharing with states. They usually focus on high impact areas such as infrastructure, or let's say digital services, direct benefit transfers to the beneficiaries. So I hope you understood the difference between centrally sponsored scheme and central sector scheme. Now, scheme continuation, reform and strategic funding outlook. Mandatory third party evaluation, which means from April 1, 2026, the centrally sponsored scheme or central sector schemes will be continued unless it passes an independent third party evaluation. Right now, this evaluation must show that the scheme is achieving outcome and remains relevant. Performance linked appraisal. Now, each ministry must show measurable results and alignment with policy goals, especially during the evaluation by third party. Why? To get approval so that the scheme can be extended beyond the financial year. Strict evaluation timeline. Now, the evaluation by third party must be completed by July 2025. And once the evaluation is completed, the schemes must receive clearance from the Expenditure Finance Committee. And this has to be done before the 26-27 Union Budget. Revised allocation formula. Now, which means the next Finance Commission, right, which is the 26 to 2026 to 2031, that is the 16th Finance Commission. The funding for ministries will be based on 5.5 times the average actual spending from financial year 21 to 22 to 25-26. So again, for the next finance commission, 16th Finance Commission from 26 to 31, funding for ministries will be based on 5.5 times the average actual spending from 21 to 26. And this aims to link future budgets more closely to the past performance. Right? This is to improve governance and budget rationalization, which means the ministries are expected to submit realistic and need-based budget proposals and avoid inflated demands. The financial request must match the actual impact and outcomes of the scheme. And last, the role of Niti Aayog. So Niti Aayog, the government's policy think tank, is conducting ongoing evaluation of these centrally sponsored schemes. It will share draft reports with ministries to support data-backed decisions. This is the second topic. I hope you understood the second topic. Let us move on with the third topic. BSF fortifies village guards initiative with arms training for Jammu border residents. So we'll understand the importance of village defense guards or committees, important for prelims as well as mains. Now this is a question that was asked on home guards in the year 2023. Now what is the context? The context is that in May 2025, India and Pakistan, we know, were involved in a short but intense conflict which is known as Operation Sindoor, initiated by India. Now this operation marked a major shift in how wars are fought, right? It moves away from the traditional methods okay. Okay, fine. Sorry. Now, the context is that the Border Security Force, the BSF has started training who? Civilian village defense guard. The BSF started training the village defense guards in, let's say, handling weapons and learning the tactical skills along the Jammu border with Pakistan. Now, this move by the BSF to train the village defense guard, it's because of a recent incident where a village defense guard member was killed during a clash with militant in the Udhampur district in Jammu. Now, this training to the village defense guards is part of larger effort to strengthen the local security in Jammu and Kashmir and to help prevent terrorist infiltration and attacks. By training the local civilians, the security forces aim to build a community level defense network that can respond quickly to threats in the bordering regions. So there's a village defense guard. We are actually training the civilians to deal with the militants, right? Now, village defense guards were first established in the mid 1990s in the Chena Valley. Again, a question can be asked in the prelims, right? It was established post Operation Sindoor. It's incorrect. It was established for the first time in the year 1990s. They were created as civilian militia to provide self-defense for local communities because the police, the army cannot be everywhere. So if you train the civilians, they can be in a better position to deal with the imminent threat against militant threats and terrorist attack. Organization structure: each VDC, it consists of a special police officer as a leader and 10 to 15 volunteer members, mostly ex-service personnel equipped with .303 rifles. The SPO was salaried while other members were volunteers. Now in 2020, the VDCs were restructured into village defense guards, introducing a revamped, right, organizational setup where all members, unlike in the VDCs, are paid. The VDGs operate under the supervision of the district SP and senior superintendent of police. The VDGs were upgraded from .303 to self-loading rifle, and the CRPF is responsible. All these facts are very important for your prelims examination. So the point is, we are actually training the civilians so that, because the militants, they live among the civilians in order to hide themselves. So if we train the civilians, they will be in a better position to handle the militants. And then we have the BSF, India's primary border guarding force that operates under the MHA. It is one of the central armed police forces of India, established 1965, that is post the India-Pakistan war in the year 1965, and motto is duty unto the death. So here you can see or read about the BSF, right? The role: border security, anti-infiltration, peacetime. So you can quickly read. I hope you understood this topic as well, right? So very factual in nature. So very important for your prelims examination. The last topic: autonomous warfare in Operation Sindoor. Here in this article, understand the concept of autonomous warfare, and these are some advanced technologies important for prelims as well as mains in the GS paper 3, that is security as well as science and technology. So question was asked, as it was asked in the 2021, about the S-400 air defense system. What is the context? Okay. Now see, in May 2025, both India and Pakistan, they were involved in, we know, a very short, but it was very, very intensive, especially once India launched Operation Sindoor. The issue, or the, let's say, the armed rivalry or the armed warfare intensified between both the nations. But this operation, it actually, if you see it marked a major shift in how wars are fought, which means it moves away from the traditional warfare, traditional methods, like, where the army personnel from both the countries are fighting. It makes a shift from traditional method to autonomous warfare, which means you do not, I mean, the human involvement is reduced. And India, for example, during Operation Sindoor, used advanced tools like AI-powered system, the drone, loitering munitions, the munitions that wait in the air and strike when a target appears. The focus was on, let's say, remote engagement with very few human casualties. It shows how future wars may be fought using machines, intelligence, and precision rather than, deploying the troops. Operation Sindoor has now become a model for modern warfare. It combines technology, it combines speed, it combines strategy, and there's a very, very minimal risk to human life. Now you're not standing in front of the enemy, you are using technology to attack the enemy. So it all depends on which country has superior technology. It's all about technology. It's all about technology. That's the reason the first topic that we discussed was again related to this topic. Why? Because unless you use technology, unless you invest in human skill, invest in innovation, invest in R&D, you'll not be in a position to invest, or let's say innovate a defense product. So it's very important that we use our money to train our people, so these trained people will manufacture, will innovate a technology which can be a game changer in the warfare. Unfortunately, we are not doing that. We are investing very minimally in innovation, or let's say to train in the R&D sector. So key concepts and definitions. So what are loitering munitions? Drones that hover in an area. It specifies, identifies targets, strike autonomously. Also known as kamikaze drones. India has loitering munitions like the Nagastra 1, the Cargo, right? And then examples. This is the one that India has. This is the one that Pakistan used during Operation Sindoor. Autonomous weapon system capable of selecting and engaging targets without human intervention, operates using AI and machine learning, pose ethical, strategic and legal challenges. Drone swarms, multiple drones working in coordination using AI algorithm, used for surveillance, saturation attacks and jamming and signal intelligence. India's ALFA swarm drone system. So these are some advanced technology that most of the countries are using. Electronic warfare involves jamming, spoofing and cyber interference with communication, GPS, or let's say radar. Both countries use signal disruption system and counter drone operations or technologies during Operation Sindoor. Now these are the technologies, right? So if you see India's indigenous defense technology, these are the technologies that India developed in our country, the purpose and who developed it. So please remember this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, new rules of engagement, which means now there is no need to send your troops. You can use technology to attack your enemy. Minimal human intervention. Cost effective warfare. Why? Because now reduced need for manned aircraft. You do not need people with technology, or let's say with the defense equipments to attack enemy. You can use it without people. Asymmetry advantage, which means is going to help the country that has excelled in innovation, that has excelled in defense production and R&D boost. Now accelerated push in India's private and public sector to develop drone warfare capacity via IDEX and DRDO. We discuss innovation, defense We have discussed this in the first chapter itself. So I hope you understood all the 4 topics of the day. Let us move on to discuss few questions. One is the means practice question. Now, despite significant strides in indigenous production and strategic reforms, India's defense sector continues to face complex internal and external challenges. Critically analyze these challenges and suggest a comprehensive roadmap to strengthen India's defense preparedness. So, approach to answer: in the introduction, mention the importance of defense preparedness given the threats India faces from China, Pakistan as well as internally, and then discuss the importance of innovation in the defense sector. And then in the body, discuss the challenges, discuss the way forward. That will be more than sufficient, which we already have discussed in the first topic. So it's nothing but it's a repetition of the points that we have discussed. I've just shown you the structure in which you need to write the answer. Now, these are the questions based on the topics that we discussed yesterday. The Chief Justice of India is not a part of selection committee of Lokpal. Incorrect. Chief Justice is a part. Lokpal has the power to scrutinize certain foreign donations. Yes. A minimum of 50% of the members of Lokpal will be. Yes. The term of office for the Lokpal chairman is 5 years. No, it is 5 years. So this is incorrect. So 2 and 3, option B is the correct answer for question number 2. Next question regarding POCSO. It was enacted as India's first comprehensive law specifically addressing the sexual abuse of children. Yes, it was ratified. India ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1992, which emphasizes the protection of children against all forms of abuse. And yes, this is very true. Very, very simple. Option C is the correct answer for question number 3. Moving on to the next question, consider the following statements regarding Deputy Speaker. The Constitution of India mandates the election of the Deputy Speaker as soon as possible of the House is constituted, implying urgency rather than discretion. Yes, this is very true. In the absence of Deputy Speaker, Article 95, no. Rule 8 of the Lok Sabha rules empowers the President to nominate a panel of chairperson to preside over the Lok Sabha. The position of Deputy Speaker has its origin in the Central Legislative Assembly under British rule, with Sachidananda Sinha being the first to hold the post in 21 years. This is also correct. Second is incorrect. Option B is the correct answer for question number 4. And then these are the DNA questions on the topics that we discussed today. On this note, we call it a wrap. Please make sure that you are spreading the DNA or you are informing your friends about the DNA initiative or DNA that we discuss have every day between 4 to 5. Make sure that you are liking, sharing and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching.